courtside here in the Steel City, and a great atmosphere inside as well at the Petersen Events Center. A Super Bowl Sunday hoops matinee as Pitt meets Villanova. We've got two teams that began the year with high hopes in the Big East, but both have struggled. Looks can be deceiving, though. Both are 3-7 in the conference. However, Pitt has been one of the hottest teams in the Big East of late. They've won 3 in a row. Their last 2 wins, home against Georgetown, a top 10 team at the time, and at West Virginia. So if there's a rags to riches story this year in college basketball, it very well might be Pittsburgh. Hi again, everyone. Bob Wischusen alongside Fran Fraschillis. Thanks for spending part of your Super Bowl Sunday with us. And Coach, Pittsburgh and Villanova. Hard to believe these two teams met with a trip to the Final Four on the line only 3 years ago. But Pittsburgh of the two is starting to turn the tide in their season.
And even though it's early February, they're basically in NCAA tournament play-in mode right now. And if you look at their schedule, of course, Jamie Dixon won't look too far down the road. They are shaping up maybe to make a run of the tournament bid.
Well, as we take a look at our one-on-one, things have changed for Pitt since they got Trey Woodall back.
Absolutely. He's been out about 10, 11 games on and off with injuries, but bringing him back gives them the playmaker they've really lacked over this losing streak, that 8-game losing streak. Take a look at transition, gets people easy baskets. Naz Robinson, the recipient there, and he can score for a point guard. Big first half at West Virginia, 16 points. That takes the pressure off Pitt's offense as well. But most importantly, he gives them that famous Pittsburgh toughness and swagger. Look at him amongst the trees at West Virginia. That's Kalichua and Jones inside. He's having fun.
And his teammates are having fun with him. Asking Jamie Dixon about the impact that Trey Woodall has had since he returned. And his quote was, if you've seen us with him and you've seen us without him, you see the difference. He's a point guard, and Fran, it affects everyone. Numbers are pretty obvious.
Well, the numbers speak for themselves, really, obviously. Everybody's better when you have your quarterback back, and it does. It puts everybody back into their normal positions.
As we take a look at the starting lineup for Villanova, Javon Pinkston, in particular, has come on of late in the front court.
Big, strong kid, the redshirt freshman from Brooklyn, New York, very solid inside.
And, of course, a player that certainly is feeding off of the return of Trey Woodall is Ashton Gibbs for Pitt.
Absolutely. Coming down the home stretch of a tremendous 4-year career.
Gibbs in the top 10, 8 to be exact, in the Big East in scoring. That's 16.4 points per game, but a lot of it has to do with the point guard coming back. And today, the Panthers will try and slow down Malik Waynes if they can. Number 2 in the Big East in scoring at 18.5 points a game. And this always, it seems, a house of horrors for the opposition. The Petersen Events Center has been one of the most lopsided home court advantages for any team in the country, especially for Pitt since it opened. Dominic Chicto gets a steal to start the game.
Well, Malik Waynes has been very offensive-minded lately, but Bell and Pinkston are starting to take off some of the pressure offensively.
Jump hook by Yaru, off the mark. Zana the rebound.
I'm not surprised they went inside. Zana has been a little bit of a soft spot early this year for Pitt.
And a triple knockdown in transition by Lamar Patterson. So Pitt off to the quick start.
Bob, when we asked Jamie Dixon if anybody has improved with Woodall being out, he pointed to Lamar Patterson, one of the best passers on the team, starting to become an offensive threat.
Muscles one up, gets his own miss. Knocked away, though. Zana with a takeaway. Woodall on Zana. And Yaru may have gotten a piece of the ball, may have gotten a piece of Zana. Let's see who it stays with. The officials will confer right in front of Jay Wright, who is struggling this year, right along with his team. It's going to stay with Pittsburgh.
Well, turnabout is fair play because both big guys have been banging inside early. No foul calls. But you're right. It's been a frustrating year for Jay Wright. The thing he really pointed to us was they don't have a senior that plays, and he was expecting more leadership from that junior class. It just hasn't happened yet.
And you're in the Big East. It's not really a conference that allows for improvement as the year goes on. Nasir Robinson comes up short, but he'll go to the free throw line. So that'll keep his perfect field goal percentage alive for his last 2 games, as Jamie Dixon has seen Nasir Robinson go 13 of 13 from the field. A lot of that, I would assume, has to do with Trey Woodall coming back, and Jamie Dixon has held this team together through a losing stretch where if you saw them practice, if you saw them shoot around, we talked about this last week during the Georgetown game as well, it always looks the same regardless of the record and atmosphere around the program.
Well, what they've had here under Jamie Dixon is what I call a culture of execution. They do everything crisply. Not as much this year, but you pointed out the fact that the practices are starting to take hold, especially now with Woodall back.
Leans in, has it blocked.
Three straight possessions at Zana.
Yaru way short. Zana another rebound. Robinson can't get it to go. It's his first miss from the field in 2+ games. Bell pulls up for 3. That's a brick. Ends up with Woodall. Villanova 0 for 5 from the field to start. Woodall will try a triple. That is off by a mile. Hopefully it was a pass. If it was a good one to Robinson, but it's blocked out of bounds and actually last touched by Robinson, so it will go over to Villanova.
Let me tell you what's happened early in this game. Villanova is going out to leave Zana. We talked about him being the soft spot for much of the year, but they've missed 4 straight shots going at the young big guy.
Forces one up. That's way short. Yaru underneath the basket. Outside to Cheek. And he finally knocks down a jumper. The first field goal for Villanova. And they're on the board 3 minutes in.
Always important for Villanova that Dominic Cheek gets going. They expected him to be that second scorer, but it has not happened with consistency.
He's had a terrible year shooting the ball, especially from the perimeter, at 28% from three-point land. Backdoor cut, Woodall was open, but Petersen couldn't connect, so it floats out of bounds and ends up as the second Pitt turnover.
Villanova, Bob, had a week off. They called it mini camp. They went back, and Jay Wright said he worked on a lot of game situations with his young team. Didn't feel they had the time in the early season to get that done.
Bell drives it. Nice, strong move by James Bell, the sophomore from Orlando. And Villanova has the lead. Petersen finds Zana on the roll. It's blocked by Bell, but a foul call. So that'll put Zana at the free throw line.
That was a perfect example of what we talk about, the execution culture. Good screen by Zana. 2 dribbles to take the big fella with you. Zana gets in behind the guard, and Bell has to foul him.
Zana, the native of Nigeria, moved to the United States in 2006. Grew up as most of the players from Africa did as a soccer player, but then discovered in a big man camp by some American high school coaches in Nigeria, had a growth spurt at the age of 10, so that moved him towards basketball. And he could speak English relatively well before he came to the United States, but he speaks 4 languages.
Well, the tricky part about African players, if they come over too late in their teams, they really never get quite the feel of the American game that they should.
Waynes can't hit. Offensive rebound for Yaru. Finds Cheek cutting, but it bounces out of bounds off Robinson. So we'll step aside. Villanova basketball when we come back. Pitt, though, with the early 1-point lead here at the Petersen Events Center.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Verizon and the 4G LTE powered spectrum by LG and Ford Focus.
believe they have.
That's the Big East this year, huh?
They lost one before that. I just want to make sure I know that. I don't want to. Pretty sure they have.
A one-point game early on here in Pittsburgh. An aerial coverage today provided by Goodyear. Everything Goodyear has learned makes tires for game-changing traction, inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven.
West Virginia and Providence in overtime. West Virginia trying to avoid a 4-game losing streak. You get to this league this time of year, Bob, you want to avoid losing streaks at all costs, because when you give a game away, you look at your schedule, then you're playing Georgetown or Syracuse. Villanova and West Virginia are in a situation right now, particularly, Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh got a pretty favorable schedule coming down the home stretch.
8 more games left for Pitt. If they win 6 of those 8, it's a 500 year in the Big East. If you win a couple games in the Big East tournament, especially if you finish the season strong by winning that many games down the stretch, they'll be in the tournament.
I agree.
Gibbs comes up short. Wayne's in the corner. But you create no margin for error by having the start they had to their Big East season.
That's exactly right. That's why Jamie Dixon said to us today, they keep going inside to Yaru. There's a microcosm of Villanova's season. He's now 0 for 4. He's catching that ball in the paint, unable to finish.
But another Pitt turnover. Robinson threw it away.
But if you're Jamie Dixon, you want to right now not put the pressure on your team to win all these games, but you want to treat it day by day, practice by practice, game by game.
This time Pinkston forces one up inside. That's no good.
You got to be pleased if you're Jamie Dixon, because they've walled off to paint right now with Zana, Taylor in the game.
Woodall tries a 3. Pinkston fights for the rebound, gets knocked out of bounds, and they'll say that he stepped on the end block. J.J. Moore comes on for Pitt, as does John Johnson. So Patterson and Woodall will sit down, and Yaru takes a seat as well, as Maurice Sutton comes on for Villanova for the first time.
Sutton coming off a first double-double in his career in the loss against Marquette last Saturday. Villanova, basically, they've been on vacation. They'll play like 2 games in 2 weeks, basically. Weird quirk in the schedule. But Sutton provides them a lot of defensive energy.
Gibbs shuffles one inside, taken away by Sutton. So that's the 4th Pitt turnover. Waynes gets to the bucket.
Well, Waynes blew right by Dante Taylor. Pittsburgh usually defends the screen and roll as well as anybody in the country.
Robinson, a little floater, offensive foul. Wave off the bucket, Pinkston took the charge.
One of the things where Pitt has really suffered, even without Trey Woodall, has been their defense. Take a look right there. You see it's a blow by. Dante Taylor's got to force that ball out towards midcourt. Let's freeze it, guys, on that first drive if we can. Right there. And run it. It allows the ball to get to the rim too easily.
Shuffled his feet. So Waynes turns it over and goes down hard. And he's slow to get up. He may have banged his right shin as he penetrated in the lane. It looks like Waynes will be okay, though, walking with a limp.
And Malik Waynes averaging almost 25 points a game in his last 5. You think about the tradition of Villanova in the backcourt in recent years. Guys like Corey Fisher, Scotty Reynolds, Randy Foy, Kyle Lowry, Allen Ray, and Waynes is the only breakdown player they have on that roster right now that can break a defense down, get into the paint, and create.
Robinson, no good. Swooping in, looking for the loose ball was Dante Taylor, and he ends up going down hard. As it now belongs to Villanova as Javon Pinkston has to jump out of the student section as well.
Good effort on the glass right there by Dante Taylor. Get the feeling, Bob, right now, every basket's going to be hard fought, well earned. And right now this is shaping up as a low possession, or at least a low scoring game, if not a low possession game.
Pinkston can't hit. The tap follow, though, goes for Sutton.
They'll give Mo Sutton a lot of credit because he was not in the rotation for much of this last few weeks, but the effort against Marquette has got him some increased minutes.
You mentioned Villanova was on vacation. Pitt's had a break this week as well. Both teams are rusty. The shooters are all still on vacation. As these two teams have combined for 5 of their first 22 from the field, and Pitt turns it over again.
Well, in fairness, their shooting has been on vacation both teams much of the season, which has been part of the issue. Villanova shooting around 30%, and Pittsburgh, of course, without Trey Woodall, really struggled to score during that 8-game losing streak.
Woodall's back in as Gibbs sits down. Their shooting percentages skyrocketed, though, in the last 3 games that they've won with Woodall. Pitt's shooting 49% from the field overall and 40% from 3 over these last 3 games, as Waynes is able to smoothly knock down a jumper and extend the Villanova lead to 5.
Well, Ty Johnson allows Waynes to play off the ball a little bit. Did a nice job of curling off that double screen.
Not a productive stretch early on for Pitt. Villanova called for the foul, though, as we step aside. Early on, as we take a look at the Cathedral of Learning on the campus of Pitt, Villanova doubling up the Panthers. Rivalry Week is here as we take a look at some of the games we'll have for you during Rivalry Week. Obviously, Georgetown, Syracuse, Kansas, Baylor, 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. Fran Fraschilla will be there.
That'll be fun, John. Shambi and I will be in Waco, Texas. Kansas coming off the loss last night to a Missouri team. Marcus Dedman red hot down the stretch. It's one of the great college games of the year. We had a chance to watch it here in Pittsburgh.
And one of the great winters we've had in the Northeast. They got to be careful. The ice is going to melt in the park there, as it is nearing 50 degrees outside under bright sunny skies, and it is hot inside as well. As the competition heating up between Villanova and Pitt, the shooting percentage is anything but, though. Pitt shooting 13%, Villanova shooting 33%, and they only have a 5-point lead.
Now, Jay Wright's got to be happy with the fact that they've forced 6 turnovers so far on the part of the Panthers.
Shot clock under 10. Woodall tries to turn the corner. Does. Scoops it up and in.
Your play breaks down. Okay? When the play breaks down, what will the player do when the play breaks down? Woodall able to get all the way to the rim, create for himself. That's the difference in having him back.
First field goal in nearly 8 minutes for Pitt. Waynes can't answer. Bell, an offensive rebound inside, though. Taken away. And with the ball still loose, it's called a jump ball.
Chuck Taylor used to say, Bob, what will a player do when the play breaks down? Because the play will break down. And there you show an example right there. Trayvon Woodall puts his head down, blows by Johnson, gets to the rim, creates the easy opportunity.
Bell with an air ball. And it looks like a foul might be called on Yaru on the far side.
One of the issues for Villanova this year is Yaru's offensive numbers have dropped in Big East play, only averaging about 8-9 points a game, and they have tried to go to him early, but he has come up empty. As a coach, when you can't score, when you have trouble scoring, it drives you nuts from the sidelines because you're hoping and wishing on every pass in the offense.
Woodall finds a wide open Zana. With the left hand, he can't hit. Offensive rebound, and the putback is good. The C's part, and Ty Johnson takes advantage. That's the second time that Villanova has gotten an uncontested layup against what normally is a pretty stiff interior for Pitt.
Forget whether Woodall has played or not this year. Pittsburgh's toughness on the defensive end has been lacking since the early part of the year, and their big guys have got to do a better job on ball screens. That time it was Zana.
Woodall gets to the rim again.
I have a feeling Jamie, and that's why Jamie Dixon is going to go to the zone, Bob. He's seen enough out of that man. They played about 25 possessions of zone down at West Virginia. And this is something you would not have seen from some of those really good Pittsburgh teams.
Waynes can't hit from the corner. Pinkston an offensive rebound. Out to the wing again. Waynes misses again. Yaru an offensive rebound. He'll try to score himself. Can't do it once again. Pinkston work on the offensive glass, and he'll go to the line. Petersen called for the foul. That's his first. And the second on Pitt here in the first half. And Pinkston tries to at least get the Villanova big men on the board as he and Yaru are a combined 0 for 8 from the field in the first 10-plus minutes.
Well, this is a young man that missed all of last season. As you know, violated the code of conduct at the school. Got into an off-campus altercation, I guess. And so you're looking at really a guy with the experience of a true freshman, although he redshirted, he was not able to practice with the team, and he was not even in school last year. But you love his toughness, and you like the way he's improving over the course of the Big East season.
Robinson back in, replacing Moore. Pinkston worked in a warehouse pretty much the entirety of last season. So talking to Jay Wright about his development as a basketball player, he said development as a basketball player, he didn't even play basketball. He was so worn out at the end of the day from having to work just to make ends meet that it wasn't like he was at the gym every day on his own playing pickup games or staying sharp. Gibbs hits a three.
That's great recognition. What Yaru does in screen and roll is he usually plays what we call a soft hedge, which means he's going to back off on the drive. Gibbs knew it, and that's right in Gibbs' wheelhouse, the jump shot. There you see, Bob, the 2-3 zone. Pittsburgh has played about 90% man this season, but they used the zone effectively at Morgantown.
Bell for three. That That's a zone breaker. And a rare made three for a Villanova team that is 15th out of 16 teams in the Big East this year shooting the three. Petersen can't knock it down. Long rebound to Waynes. Bell will try again, and he'll hit another. Jamie Dixon wants a timeout after back-to-back triples by James Bell. It's a 5-point lead for Villanova with 8:09 to go in the first half. What Pitt needs to do down the stretch, and they probably have to at least go 6-2 over their last 8. And then you see the struggle that West Virginia just had, as Cindy told you, overtime game at Providence. Providence at the bottom of the Big East standings. It's a hard league to go on a run.
Yeah, it is, but there's a lot of basketball for Pitt to be played. That's an over and back. And one of the things people never calculate is your schedule. Like, did you
a lot of times you play a lot tougher schedule early than you do late. You get big games out of the way. I've seen that so many times. But as a coach, what you got to do is you got to start a one-game winning streak. That's it. You can't look too far ahead.
Gibbs knocks another one down.
Now, if Gibbs were at the point, he would have been taking that ball out of bounds. Because Woodall's back, Gibbs is the recipient of an excellent executed inbounds play.
Stripped away, found it again, muscles it up and won't go. Yaru, another offensive rebound, and he'll go to the free throw line as he still can't make a field goal. Tomorrow night on Big Monday, presented by Bud Light, ESPN will give you 2 great games. First at 7 Eastern, UConn takes on Louisville, and then at 9 Eastern, Texas and Texas A&M in the bitter Texas rivalry. Both games available at ESPN3 and streaming live. Watch ESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. Big Monday tomorrow night.
Watch out for Louisville. 6-4 now, creeping up the Big East standings. And you remember earlier I talked about Yaru and African kids. My experience has been if they come over too late, they really don't develop the feel for the game that American kids have. Gorgie Zheng of Louisville, completely different. Young man has a great aptitude for the game. Terrific athlete, continues to improve. And a big factor, I think, for Louisville down the stretch.
Louisville's been hot lately.
Yes, they have.
Woodall from the corner. He's got it. That's a triple for Trey Woodall.
Remember, we mentioned that they went to that 2-3 zone. They're back in man now.
Bell, tough shot, rolls across the rim, and Zana the rebound. Woodall try another. Back-to-back threes for Trey Woodall. Again for Yaru. He is 0 for 6 from the field.
That was excellent rotation in the pick and roll. The big switched out.
Gibbs draws contact and a chance for a three-point play.
Well, when you got to honor Gibbs' ability to shoot it, you're going to react on every shot fake. And there's a good example, taking advantage of the freshman Johnson. Great concentration by the senior from Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Well, you look at Cheek and Gibbs and Woodall and Johnson, all these Jersey guards out here. These guys have gone up against each other last 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Began the game 1 for 8 from the field. They have been unconscious since starting 1 for 8. 8 of their last 10 from the field for Pitt. And that's 3 straight three-point trips for a 9-0 run. Yaru still can't buy a field goal. Another effort won't go, but he draws the foul. Yaru is now 0 for 7 from the field, and I don't know if one of those 7 attempts has come more than about a foot outside the paint.
Well, and he may not be effectively making shots, but you can tell that Jamie Dixon has decided that the softness in Pittsburgh's defense is Zana. But to Zana's credit, he's done a good job of walling off Yaru.
And Yaru misses at the free throw line. Well, if nothing else, it drew the second foul on Nasir Robinson. So Robinson will now sit down as Lamar Patterson comes back on for Pitt. Also in the game, Cameron Wright.
You can always tell, Bob, when a game starts, what a coach has been thinking. And they've had a week to decide what they want to do offensively. Early in this game, they have thrown the ball into Yaru regardless of the end result. And they obviously feel that they can get Pittsburgh in foul trouble or attack the softness of that defense inside. And it has been soft without Gary McGee this year.
Petersen along 2, and that one's good. 9 of 11 from the field for Pittsburgh since a 1-for-8 start.
Pittsburgh's great teams have always had the mobile four-man, whether it's a Sam Young, a Gil Brown. Petersen is trying to morph into that kind of player.
Pinkston. There is a lid on the basket for the Villanova big men. But Pinkston will go to the free throw line to shoot 2 as he draws the foul on Petersen. That's Petersen's second. So the strategy of Villanova to continue to go inside, but they can't score a field goal.
Well, it's true, but the strategy is a good one because in getting Pittsburgh in foul trouble, you're softening up what has already been historically this year a softer front line defensively. And I like that idea.
Pinkston's now 1 for 3 at the line. Zana back in. As Petersen goes to the bench.
And you know, Bob, it's not only the graduation of Gil Brown and Bradley Wanamaker and McGee, the injury to Woodall, but you look at the transfer of Kem Birch, the promising freshman. Moore's been suspended this year. Wright's been suspended. Petersen for a game. So this is a team that's still trying to develop that continuity. And especially with Trey Woodall back now, they've got a chance to do it over the next month.
Woodall got caught in midair. Threw it right to Cheek. 8 turnovers for Pitt. Cheek has it stripped away. Yaru can't find it. Woodall just about got it back. And it looks like he may have. A foul was called. John Gaffney's got a foul call. And it's going to go against Yaru.
Woodall, there's a foul here in the scrum. Take a look at all the bodies.
This is Yaru's second foul.
Yep, that's a good call. I was going to say Woodall throwing to Dominic Cheek wouldn't have been such a bad idea about 3 years ago when they were playing together at St. Anthony's. He might have had a flashback on that last turnover.
Woodall for 3. Offensive rebound by Taylor. Right back up, and he'll go to the free throw line. So just after Yaru goes to the bench with his second foul, James Bell is called for his second foul, and Dante Taylor will go to the line. Dante Taylor was the first McDonald's All-American in 22 years to come to Pitt, and he was quickly followed by Kem Birch, but Birch has since transferred.
You know, watching these two teams, and the style of play is the same as it's always been. The toughness, the set play offense by Pitt, motion by Villanova. The skill level's lower. You know, so many good players have left. Quite frankly, a lot of the upperclassmen haven't stepped up and risen to the challenge. And that's why you'll see sloppy play, but the intensity is there. The execution, putting the ball in the basket, not quite where it's been. That's why they're both 3 and 7.
Tell on the drive, a little too strong. Zana the rebound. Pitt looking to build on their largest lead.
Zana got away with a little push in Sutton's back, but that's because Sutton doesn't have the frame to hold his ground.
Gibbs tries a 3. He's got it. Timeout called by Jay Wright.
This is called separation, Bob. He's waiting to see if Pinkston will fight. Pinkston doesn't fight. He's got room to shoot it. That's Ashton Gibbs.
here at the Petersen Events Center. A beautiful day outside in Pittsburgh. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Pitt has opened up a 32-23 lead, and it's not unusual for the Steelers to still be playing football at this time of year.
I brought my bodyguard with me. Brett Kiesel's sitting about 2 seats from us. I'm good to go if there's any kind of ruckus here today.
I don't think anybody has violated the velvet ropes rule around you in quite some time, right? It was amazing, though. The groupies that were in the hotel upon our arrival last night, I love Double F. It was unbelievable. Just trying to rope them off. That's a challenge for any hotel security staff protecting Frankfurt.
I always use a false name.
I understand.
I tell them I check in as Steve Lavin.
Waynes. Is it a turnover? It's a held ball. It'll go over to Pitt. And now Javon Pinkston with a smile as he squares off with Cameron Wright, separated by Jimmy Burr. But it's a 9-point lead for Pittsburgh with 3:11 to go in the first half.
And it's a 9-point lead in a 3-game winning streak. Why? Trey Woodall's back in town. He's healthy, knocking them down, running the offense, and providing some emotion.
All right, Cindy, thanks very much. Welcome back to Pittsburgh, where Pitt scored 16 points in the first 12 minutes. They've scored 16 in the last 5. And that their resurgence is just one note in what has been an eventful week in the Big East for Fran Fraschilla, and probably most notably, all of us worried about the health of Jim Calhoun again.
Exactly. And George Blaney running the ship, of course, has had a lot of experience at being a head coach. Was a tremendous coach at Holy Cross and then Seton Hall. How about Notre Dame? What a job Mike Frey has done. And you look at no Tim Abramitis. It's incredible. Jerrion Grant and Eric Atkins becoming one of the best young backcourts in the country. So many good young players in the Big East this year. Freshmen, and not all of them are leaving. Very few of them will leave. There's some really good players, I think, for the league to build on.
Woodall lost his footing. Zana ends up with the loose ball. Plenty of time on the shot clock, still with 10 seconds. Gibbs tries a three and rolls it home right in the face of Malik Waynes. Double-digit lead for the Panthers.
There's a lot less pressure on Ashton Gibbs to have to run the offense. He can concentrate more on what he does best.
Another takeaway. Here comes Wright. Off to Gibbs. Gibbs it up. And the throwdown by Dante Taylor plus the foul.
Well, we've seen this act before. Ashton Gibbs feeling it. Again, Waynes gives him too much space. He knocks it down. And then a good look by Cameron Wright. Gets the hockey assist. Gibbs back to Taylor.
Overall, it is a 21-2 run for Pitt to make it a 14-point lead, and a bad foul by Malik Waynes as well. No chance to stop Dante Taylor. And instead gets called for a personal foul and gives Taylor the chance for the three-point play, which he completes. 22-2 is this run for Pitt.
See John Johnson and Cam Wright in the game now. Jamie Dixon told us he's increasingly getting more comfortable with his young players.
Waynes can't connect. One and done for Villanova. Gibbs slips it underneath. Jump hook won't go for Taylor. Here comes Waynes. They'll attack. Plus the foul. A chance for a three-point play for Malik Waynes. Taylor called for the foul.
One of the things Pittsburgh's done well in this three-game winning streak was not allow transition baskets. And that time Waynes was able to get all the way right to the rim. And again, and I don't want to belabor the point because you can see Pitt has improved with Woodall back, but those are the kind of baskets that they did not give up as many in the past. Taylor allowed Waynes to get right to the rim.
The first field goal, though, for Villanova in 6.5 minutes. Waynes up to 7. But now Villanova needs some stops. And there's one for Javon Pinkston. A takeaway. And he'll throw it down. The first field goal for either Pinkston or Yaru. And Jamie Dixon wants a timeout. He wants to get Woodall back in the game. So all of a sudden a little light for Villanova as they have the lead back down to 10. And tomorrow night, ESPN2 with two incredible women's matchups for Big Monday presented by Bud Light. First at 7 Eastern, it's number 24 North Carolina and number 6 Duke. A prelude to the men's game on Wednesday night. And then at 9 Eastern, we head to the Big 12 for Oklahoma and top-ranked Baylor. Both games available on ESPN3 and streaming live. Watch ESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. The women on Big Monday presented by Bud Light tomorrow night as well.
Few better coaching matchups you'll see than Sherry Cole of Oklahoma and Kim Mulkey of Baylor. Both very intense, very detail-oriented. Of course, Oklahoma has had some injuries this year, but you haven't seen Brittany Griner. You got to watch her. She's just an amazing player.
You mentioned the two coaches in that game. An occasional facial expression caught on camera during that game.
That's
very
right.
Intense.
You gave me one word to describe each. I would say intense.
Each one's about 90 pounds soaking wet. And boy, oh boy, do they fill the gym with that intensity. You're right. With the left hand, a little too strong, and a good job by Pinkston to force it to Sutton.
I love Dante Taylor's effort today, but he's got to make those shots in close.
Cheek can't hit the three, and Pinkston had an offensive rebound, but it was knocked away by Maurice Sutton inside, and Pinkston looked frustrated. As he told Sutton, you know, same team.
Not as frustrated as Jamie Dixon was that last 20 seconds. I love the effort of Zana and Taylor today. Their energy's great. They just got to finish around the basket.
Woodall off the mark, but in. It looked like that was going to roll off to the left, and a soft touch for Trey Woodall.
We've seen 20 minutes, and you saw them against Georgetown. You can see it's a different team with Trey Woodall back.
Down to 10 seconds to go in the first half. Waynes gets a screen. Down the lane, comes up short, Zana the rebound, and it'll be a double-digit lead at halftime for Pittsburgh. A lot of momentum swing runs in the first half, but the biggest run, 21-2 at one point by Pittsburgh.
Solid defense. Villanova couldn't score, which was part of the issue, but Trey, Woodall, Ashton, Gibbs back in their familiar roles, scorer, playmaker. Starting to look like the Panthers again, Bob.
We'll step aside. It's time for the UPS halftime report as we head back to the studio. Cindy Brunson with another Jersey guard, Jay Williams.
Pair of top 10s from the Big 12. It's Kansas and Missouri. First half, Tyshawn Taylor hooking up with Thomas Robinson. Jayhawks up a point. Later in the half, Marcus Denman for Michael Dixon. This from well beyond the arc. It puts Mizzou up 33-32. Late in the half, Connor Tien's pass is picked off by Marcus Denman, who takes it the distance. He led all scorers with 29. Had Missouri up 7, but second half, they're even at 51. Travis Relaford hooking up with Thomas Robinson. He was power in the paint all night long. 25 points, 11 rebounds. That and one had the Jayhawks up 53-51. That's Tyshawn Taylor working the baseline on the finish. He had 21. Kansas opened up a 69-63 edge, but back come the Tigers. That's Denman off the window plus the foul. Missouri within 5. Final minute, it's Matt Pressey for Denman, who's doing it from downtown. Mizzou has the lead. The place is going wild. Final seconds, Kansas down 3. Elijah Johnson looking for that game-equaling Trey, but he's well off the mark. Missouri up to 21-2. They take this one 74-71. For a look at the rest of Saturday's highlights, it's time for the Axe ESPN 3 halftime show.
The ESPN3 Halftime Report is presented by New Axe Anarchy. For him and for her. Unleash the chaos.
Welcome inside our studios. Mike Yam along with a man who's big everywhere, Andy Katz. We have a lot to get to, including the nation's only undefeated team, at least coming into tonight. That would be the Racers of Murray State. Match it up against the University of Tennessee Martin.
What they're going to find on the road in the OVC is they are the biggest game every time they step on the court. The target's on the back. They have the most fans, the most intensity, and Martin was up for this one.
Brandon Garrett with the putback dunk off of the Isaiah Cannon miss. Racers able to take control off of this bucket, but Cannon really the story on this basketball team.
Yeah, he's been a tremendous leader. There are a number of teams in the country that would love to have a point guard with his leadership skills to pick your pocket, finish like that, and get his team together whenever it gets tight.
Second half here, Ivan Aska in the post. How about that bucket? Murray State in control.
They won a bunch of games, obviously. They're undefeated without Aska when he was out with a broken hand. Comes back. They're that much better, certainly a little bit more balanced.
Jose Jackson off the broken play, able to get it done. Murray State still perfect. Creighton matching up against Northern Iowa. Under 10 seconds to play here. Blue Jays down by 3. Antoine Young gets the basketball. You know, Andy, we love timely buckets. Straightaway triple is good. Tied at 62. That was Jim Range. Now 4 seconds to play here. Tie ball game. Anthony James.
James in there! Northern Iowa upsets the Creighton Blue Jays on a 3 by Anthony James.
Well, the Panthers 7-2 against ranked teams at home since 2001-2002. The Blue Jays, that 11-game winning streak, it's a wrap. Nice upset win there. 13th ranked UNLV taking on Wyoming.
I was convinced that Wyoming would get someone at Double-A under Larry Shyatt. San Diego State, New Mexico, Vegas, one of the top 3. Would it be tonight?
J.D. Luster trying to make it that night, decided to take that 3 and buries it. 5 points, his only field goal of the game, but that was a biggie. Great pass down low Oscar Belfield get it to Quintrell Thomas for the finish. 8 seconds left. UNLV down by 2. Mike Moser can't get it to go down. How about this?
Storm!
First win against the top 25 team since 2002 for Wyoming. And yes, they did storm. Give me a sense. I think college basketball fans, Andy, they love upset wins. Do we make a lot of these games? Should we be focused in on some of these losses?
No. And the reason is these were road conference losses in conferences that, frankly, do not get the kind of respect nationally they should. To win on the road in the Valley, especially when you're the top team, like Creighton this year. Northern Iowa's been that way in years past. UNLV this season in the Mountain West Conference, going to Wyoming, going to altitude at AA. These are tough road games. These are the teams with their target on the back when Gonzaga would lose on the road, if ever in the WCC, or Butler in the road in the Horizon, or Davidson in the Southern. It's very tough, obviously, to win on the road in any conference, but when the target's on your back, we should take a step back and say, you know what, these are road conference losses. They should not directly affect their selection or their seeding in March.
Sometimes difficult when you're that team that does have that X on your back. However, a team like Kentucky, it doesn't seem to happen for them that often. They are the #1 team
in this era.
The land. Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a very good point. First half is where we kick things up here. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, the freshman from New Jersey, throwing it up. Terrence Jones throwing it down, 16 points, 6 rebounds.
Jones playing a lot more loose, but in a good way lately. I mean, finishing around the basket. They've just got so many different options offensively, and they can just throw it up, and then Anthony Davis can finish.
Yeah, you talk about finishing around the basket. Davis in this basketball game, 22 points. Defensively, Andy, 8 blocks.
I mean, he's an unbelievable force. He alters probably more than that. He had 8 blocks, probably alters 10. I'm just guessing here, but I know he does.
We go from 1 to 2. That would be Syracuse matching up against St. John's. Jim Boeheim, smile, coach, smile, because Fat Mel's back in the lineup after missing the last 3 because of academic issues, and there's 2 for the big man.
A lot of spacing there, obviously, that St. John's has given up. Syracuse, so unselfish. I've seen them a couple times in person already this season. Guys coming off the bench like Michael Carter-Williams, Dion Waiters, they're okay with it.
Dion Waiters there with a nice spin. He had 14 points. You mentioned Michael Carter-Williams. Oh, the facial. He had 13 points.
Good day, New York.
Yeah, that is a huge finish at the rim. I know you're impressed. Orange up by 22.
More of that in the Big East tournament.
Yeah, Waiters not done. We showed you the fancy lay-in. There's 2 on the dunk. They shot 56% from the floor. The sophomore looking strong here on the finish. Jim Boeheim, 879 wins, ties him with Dean Smith, 3rd most in D1 history. North Carolina matching up against Maryland. There's Coach Roy Williams at College Park here, second half. Carolina actually down, but Kendall Marshall, give me the rock. He's got the steal. Great hands does the point guard have. Harrison Barnes, he's just got great skill. The ball's good, 18 points, 8 rebounds.
Yeah, Barnes had a bum ankle, obviously not being an issue earlier in this game. And
Terrell Stoglin,
Maryland really struggled from the perimeter. Yeah. But great balance by North Carolina. John Henson had a monster game, a double-double for North Carolina. Tyler Zeller had been doing that recently. Obviously, Harrison Barnes, when he's on, is sensational.
Carolina 7-1 in ACC play. And how about this? Another 7-1 team. Florida State, a winner against Virginia. Nice win for Leonard Hamilton's group.
Look, everyone wants to sort of wait on Florida State, but they keep winning games. They already beat North Carolina. They won at Duke. They don't have to play Carolina again. They get Duke at home. They're in position, if they keep doing what they're doing right now, to potentially win the ACC, which they've never done at Florida State.
Cavaliers, a season-high 20 turnovers in the loss. Oh, still to come, Ohio State on the road taking on Wisconsin. You want to find out something they haven't done since 2000, and that's win there. We'll show you what happened.
Popcorn, fresh popcorn, real popcorn sold by a real human being. Satisfaction guaranteed. Get your popcorn. Never stuck. Accepts bills and change. Popcorn. Popcorn.
Welcome back to the Axe ESPN 3 halftime report. Mike M along with Andy Katz. A lot to get to, some exciting basketball, including a huge matchup in the Big Ten. Ohio State on the road to face Wisconsin. Second half, Buckeyes up. Jared Sullinger, Andy, the kid can ball.
And there's no question Sullinger, of course, is still in the race for the National Player of the Year award. 24 and 10 in this game, got to the line 10 times, made 8 free throws.
His 8th double-double of the season. Sullinger down low. Yeah, he's a man. Sully, 1,000th career point on that bucket. Under 4 minutes remaining here, Wisconsin down by 4.
Big Red.
You like him.
I want the curly red locks back up.
Yeah, Mike Rizzo burying that triple. He had 11 points in this one. William Buford, he's got a 3 of his own. Just 4 of 15 for the floor, but he did have 11 points. Ohio State, their first win at Wisconsin since 2000.
4 home losses at the Kohl Center. Unbelievable for Wisconsin. But they didn't shoot well.
Baylor, Oklahoma State, or Scott Drew's team. Boy, in this conference, man, they are locked and loaded at the top. Second half, Baylor up by 7. Anthony Jones underneath with throw down 7 off the bench.
Difference for Baylor this season. Being able to win on the road, playing different styles, high scoring, low scoring, even when they turn the ball over and don't make big shots.
Now, Oklahoma State down by 2. Keaton Page, can't leave him open, Andy.
No, not at all.
15.
Maybe the shortest guy on the court, but one of the most dangerous.
Mostly deadly shooter. Quincy Acey, just straight up deadly. 11 points, 12 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block for him. There's a minute to play. Oklahoma State down 3. Page draws the contact there, but no foul is called. Bears sweep the Cowboys in the regular season.
Yeah,
first time they've done that since 1922. Vandy in Florida, Festus Ezeli, they are a different team when he's in the lineup.
Yeah, without him, clearly they have no post presence. With him, they do.
He had 11 points in this one, but the Gators feeling it from downtown. Bradley Beal, the freshman, he had 3 points right there.
Very good shooting team, but also a better selectively shooting team this season, taking the right shots at the right time. Bottom line is Vandy cannot win when they turn the ball over 17 times on the road.
Beal had 16 in this one as a team. The Gators 11 of 24 from downtown. Kevin Boynton, he had 18 as well. How about this, the Gators? It's their 7th straight win. All right, South Florida matching up against Georgetown. First half is where we start things off here. Jason Clark underneath. He had 11 points off the bench.
What's interesting here is South Florida was off to a 6-3 start in the Big East, but it's a classic case of an unbalanced schedule. Played some early games against the lower tier of the conference. Now we found out the real South Florida on the road.
Markel Starks in the corner. He had 10 as well. Hoya's up by 20 here. Nate Lubick back the other way. Dunk me. Ooh, 2 hands for safety. Hoya's 12-1 at home this season. Marquette and Notre Dame, one of those other matchups in the Big East that had a lot of eyes on it. Mike Bray, make a case, possibly your coach of the year in the conference.
Make a case. I think right now he's got it if this continues, unless they fall flat.
Jamil Jones for the dunk. Off the feed from Jay Crowder, who is certainly one of the premier players in this conference. 11 seconds to go in the first half. How about that move?
Keep in mind, though, Marquette playing out without Devontae Gardner and Chris Tuli's done for the year. So they're well out there, 2 key guys in the middle. But Notre Dame, once again, a sensational job. And freshman Pat Connaughton had 23 points and 11 rebounds. Notre Dame keeps finding different guys to make buckets like that.
Marquette, they lose against Notre Dame. Golden Eagles, that 7-game winning streak. It's over. Seton Hall and UConn. George Blaney filling in for Jim Calhoun on medical leave. Andy, you were at this game.
Story on the court is Ryan Boatwright. Had 19 points starting with the 3-guard lineup with Shabazz Napier and Jeremy Lamb. It worked well in the second half, more so than the first. Off the court, Jim Calhoun battling spinal stenosis, trying to decide what course of procedure he's going to go through, either rest, major surgery, minor surgery. They do not know when he's going to come back. He wants to come back, though. That's the bottom line. But now there's a lot of uncertainty. And that's the problem right now for UConn, because they go to Louisville on Monday and Syracuse next Saturday.
You mentioned Boatwright in this game being spectacular. Plenty of great dishes and setting up some players as well for some easy dunks. Now your Axe player of the day, Jared Sullinger, the double-double, 24 and 10. What's the most impressive thing about his game for you?
Oh, the fact that he just wants and commands the ball in the post. You said I was at that Connecticut game earlier today, and I was. And Andre Drummond, classic case of guy who needs to demand the ball more. Sullinger does that every time he gets down low.
Yeah, he really is a force. And this was a guy that you know is going to be a lottery pick that you're going to see playing at the NBA level. All right, that'll wrap it up for us. He's Andy. I'm Mike. Enjoy the second half.
The Patriots could be the difference because Tom Brady's going to have to look elsewhere other than at Rob Gronkowski all the time.
I think that running game will have to be even better for the Patriots because you don't know how effective Rob Gronkowski is going to be, whether it's early, late, whatever that is. And he's such an integral part of their offense because it's not so much the fact he can catch the ball. It's the way he does it with an attitude. He punishes people. He really brings a nastiness that the Patriots have not had in that receiver corps, especially in the red zone. That's asking a lot of Aaron Hernandez or Wes Welker or Deion Branch to be the kind of guys that they can be that strength monster in the middle of the field. That's something the Patriots have to replace. The best way maybe to do that is that Ben Jarvis Green Ellis will have to have not a huge day running the football, but just enough where things can't get predictable, where the Giants can say they can't run the football. They can't do that. We know we got a better chance of knocking down number 12.
Do you think that they will be patient enough to run the football today? Because in recent games, especially at the end of the regular season, they fell behind by so many points to the Dolphins and the other game.
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills.
No, they had a big lead. They had a big lead on the Bills.
Right.
Right.
And so I just don't know if they're going to be patient enough to run the ball to try to set up their passing game because we know it's all about Tom Brady. And I think they're going to say, we're going to use our strengths. And I don't know if their own coaching staff thinks that their running game is a strength.
Well, to bring some memory to your memory of the Coach and Coleman show on ESPN Radio, their lack of patience in Super Bowl 42 was a major reason why they did not win that football game. They had chances to throw short and keep drives alive. They kept trying to hit that home run. And when they
Set for the start of the second half here in Pittsburgh. As you take a look at the aerial view of the Petersen Events Center on the campus of Pitt, and inside at one point a 22-2 run put on by the Pitt Panthers, and they've got a double-digit lead over Villanova as we're set for the start of the second half. Bob Wischusen and Fran Fraschilla. We talked about the impact before the game that Trey Woodall's return has had on Pitt. We saw it firsthand in the first half, his impact on his team overall and specifically on Ashton Gibbs.
Well, we did, and let's not forget, while we chronicle the success that Pittsburgh's having with this guy, Trey Woodall, and he has been magnificent in his 3+ games that he's come back, knocking down shots. Ashton Gibbs was the preseason player of the year in the Big East, and this has made Ashton Gibbs a lot more effective. He doesn't have to worry about running the offense, picks his spots now, and does what he does best, knocks down those deep threes. They're doing the heavy lifting for Pittsburgh, and I think that's exactly the way Jamie Dixon would like it.
10 of 14 from the field combined for Gibbs and Woodall. Those two keyed the 22-2 run. That was part of a 24-7 advantage for Pittsburgh before the end of the first half. And Ashton Gibbs now up to 276 career-made threes for Pitt, #1 in program history, closing in on 1,600 points as well. And Malik Wayne's going to have to find some teammates with answers in the second half to get Villanova back in it. He'll try a jumper that's way short. Right back out to Waynes. Cheek has it poked away from behind. Wayne will stay with Villanova.
Wayne suffers from a similar problem Gibbs had without Woodall, is that he has to do everything himself. He's trying to score and be a playmaker, Bob. That's not easy. There are no other answers right now for Villanova besides Wayne.
So if you're Jay Wright, what do you do?
He was scratching his head at the shoot-around, right? And you don't know if you can get enough from Pinkston and Bell consistently.
Yaru misses from point-blank range. What should have been a dunk turns out to be another miss for Yaru. 0 for 8 from the field. Gibbs from the corner. Petersen an offensive rebound and draws the foul.
Well, Yaru is obviously having a tough game, and he's not the only problem. As he rolls to the rim, he's open, and you mentioned he's 0 for 8, but it's a microcosm of Villanova's season right there that they can't get consistent scoring from any place on the floor besides Malik Waynes.
Bell picked up his third foul. Well, Malik Waynes averages 18.5 points a game. He's a junior, but also part of this junior class, Dominic Cheek, who has never developed into what they thought he would be, and Yaru, who also, you can see, has a lot of developing to do. And it's a class that finally has their turn to be the guys, and Jay Wright said they're just not ready to be the guys.
There's no, Villanova has had pros on its roster forever. And right now there's no pros on the roster.
Bell can't hit. Here comes Woodall. Gibbs, quick trigger. He's got another three.
That's how easy the game is for Ashton Gibbs right now. That's a 3 o'clock in the afternoon before practice. You're getting a lot of shots up jumper right there.
Short, Yaru, the tip follow goes for his first field goal. Pitt is going to be tough down the stretch in the Big East. Even if they don't go necessarily on the run that might get them to 9-9, the Big East tournament with a lot of momentum, they're going to win a bunch of games.
Well, I think they will, but I still think that they're not as good defensively as they've been in the past. And you can't really tell today because Villanova's had trouble scoring against a lot of teams this year.
Gibbs picks up his dribble, shot clock at 5. Has to force it up and knocks it down. Jay Wright thought he traveled.
But you're right, Bob. There's no question Woodall makes the game easier for everybody on the offensive end.
Well, Pitt has made 15 of their last 21 from the field. Bell finds Yaru. And he gets fouled. Another foul called on Lamar Petersen. That's his third.
Take a look at this, Bob. Transition basketball. Gibbs just spots up. He's made that shot about 10,000 times in his life. And then he works for this one right here. You see the little double team. Little step through. Might have lifted up that pivot foot. Put it back on the floor. But there's so much traffic, it's hard to tell. It's not Mufiru's fault. On a good team, he's your 5th starter. He's your 10 points, 8 rebound a game guy. Does a good job defensively, but he's not in a position to be your second scorer, and neither is Cheek, and that's the main issue for Villanova. They need, and even whether it's recruiting, they need somebody that they can rely on to be a second banana offensively.
Called on Waynes. Well, the tough part about college sports, you know this, as Woodall's shaken up. And that obviously will cause some palpitations for Jamie Dixon as he's favoring that left shoulder. But the problem in college sports is, take a look at the foul on Waynes. If you miss on a recruiting class, I mean, if it's pro sports and you miss on a draft class, you might have players on your team still in other good draft classes for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Well, maximum you get guys for 4 years. Sooner or later, a recruiting class is going to have its chance to be kind of in charge of the program. And, Jay Wright missed on this recruiting class.
Well, I've always said it's not who you don't get that kills you. It's who you get that can't play that kills you. And these guys are good players, but they're just not as good as Jay might have thought.
Well, the home runs that he hit on all the other recruiting classes that preceded this group.
Because this looks like a good Villanova team, but their skill level is average right now.
Backdoor cut. Robinson gets it to go.
See, that's Pitt basketball right there. Execution, screen set hard, passing with precision.
Cheek forces one up, and it rolls home.
But you make a great point. It's hard to go from a role player. Not everybody is able to go from the role player to the go-to guy in a program, and I think that's the lesson here. And Corey Stokes, Corey Fisher, Scotty Reynolds, those guys really put the program on their back for a number of years.
Reach in on Pinkston is his second. And to be fair, Jay Wright has what I think our guys at ESPNU, if you go and look at the 2 players he has coming in next year, including a very good point guard, one of the top recruiting classes coming in the Big East. He feels really good about Javon Pinkston's development. Feels really good about James Bell's development.
That's right. Ryan Archidiacono, very creative scoring guard, point guard who can score, will come in next year. He's recovering from back surgery. Ochefu, the big youngster, also well thought of.
And there's Pinkston with a steal. He'll try to do it himself. Lost it on the way up. Taken away by Gibbs. They hit ahead to Robinson. Floats one back to Zana. Blocked by Yaru. And it's knocked out of bounds. Off of Yaru. Pitt basketball when we come back. And since early on, about 10 minutes in, it has been all Pittsburgh. They haven't missed 2 in a row since the midway point of the first half. Welcome back to Pittsburgh, where the Panthers have taken control of this game with Villanova 49-33. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything Goodyear has learned making tires for game-changing traction inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla watching Trey Woodall and Ashton Gibbs put on a show this afternoon. And Fran, the numbers speak for themselves. Woodall back in the lineup for Pitt, and they become almost a night and day difference offensively when he plays.
Well, you see 79 points a game when he does play. 9-1 record, and it does speak for itself because everybody's role changes and they go back to playing to their strengths. Ashton Gibbs doesn't have to worry about being the point guard. He can concentrate on scoring. They'll do the heavy lifting. Zana, Robinson, Petersen, they'll lift as much as they can.
Gibbs comes up short after getting bumped in the head. A breakout for Waynes. Rolls it home. Malik Waynes.
That was a great outlet pass by James Bell. Not only was he strong and tough around the rim, he spotted Waynes at midcourt.
Waynes up to 9, although he is 4 for 13 from the field.
Remember this about Villanova. Assuming Waynes comes back next year, everybody returns.
Well, when you said earlier that Villanova right now has no pros on their team, I thought that was kind of code for it. You think Waynes ought to come back next year?
He has people probably telling him he's a pro, but he's a good player, there's no question. But you're asking the wrong guy when you ask about pros, because the guy averages 18 in the Big East. All his handlers are telling me he's a pro, but where's he going to play? He's a scoring point guard right now, but don't discredit the fact that he's a very, very good college player. I just think he should come back. No, doesn't mean he listen to me.
Well, next year, as you mentioned, with the point guard coming as part of the recruiting class, Waynes could be an off-the-ball guy at times, and Might enhance the stock.
Well, it will, because they've always played 2 and 3 point guards at a time. That's the beauty of Villanova's offense.
Here comes Waynes again, crossing over on Woodall and finishing.
And remember, this guy has been red hot lately, 25 points a game. He dropped 39 against Cincinnati. No question he's talented. That's why I think this team stays intact. They're going to have a year under their belt with all these young players.
6 straight for Villanova. And they get some stops. Reach-in foul called on James Bell. That's Bell's 4th. And tomorrow night, Big Monday, presented by Bud Light, brings you 2 more games, first at 7 Eastern in the Big East. It's UConn against a red-hot Louisville team. And then at 9 Eastern, Texas and Texas A&M in the bitter Longhorn rivalry. Both games available at ESPN3, streaming live. Watch ESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. So James Bell to the bench with 4 fouls.
I live in Dallas, so I want to make sure Longhorn Aggie rivalry, because those people, that rivalry right now is about to go away. Sadly.
And a rivalry you hope doesn't go away.
Well, it
Texas
will.
and Texas A&M should play.
Yeah, but they won't for a while, I can tell you that.
Gibbs for 3.
That's why Bill Self, if I were him, I wouldn't play Missouri. They're the ones that left the Big 12.
Cheek from the corner. Hits a 3. And all of a sudden, Villanova's back in the game. Down by 9.
Amazing how good you look, and it's logical when balls start to go in the basket. Villanova's caught this little hot streak right now. And you know what? They'll get a little more pep in their step defensively as well, I bet.
Robinson, nice look underneath, but a block from behind. Here comes Waynes the other way. Pulls up. A little too strong. And Johnson ends up with the rebound. Gibbs left alone. Strong rebound by Cameron Wright and a fresh shot clock. And a timeout called by Jamie Dixon. We'll step aside for just a moment. A 9-0 run by Villanova has them back in the game.
Doesn't have a timeout. Lobs it into Cunningham. Who gives it to Reynolds? 4 seconds. 3 seconds. Reynolds. Stride. Shot. Villanova is going to the Final Four.
And that is the last time that Villanova beat Pittsburgh. You can see Pitt has an Elite 8 banner from 2009, but Villanova at the Pavilion has a Final Four banner from 2009. two teams that have been consistent, dominant performers in the Big East before this year. Very rare to find either below 500. Scotty Reynolds, of course, with that coast-to-coast finish to put Villanova in the Final Four, their first Final Four since 1985. And now Jay Wright trying to restock a program that Fran Fraschilla has been one of the best guard programs in America for a long, long time.
Well, it has. Last 7 years, they've averaged almost 25 wins a year.
And a defensive breakdown. The last 7 trips for Pitt, they had been 0 for 5 from the field until Dante Taylor got loose underneath.
Screen and roll basketball, and it really causes indecision, especially on the part of the big man. And Dante Taylor able to slip right through that screen to the basket.
Johnson to Sutton, and Sutton's fouled. Lamar Patterson called for the personal. Patterson in foul trouble as that's his 4th.
Jay Wright was telling me, he told me this a few weeks ago. They don't have any seniors that play. They've got a walk-on, but this would have been the year Malcolm Grant would have been a redshirt senior, the young man who's now playing at Miami. Taylor King would have been on his team. Isaiah Armwood, who I always thought was a gritty role player, transferred to GW last year. 9 different starting lineups. And they're arguably one of the youngest teams in the country. Not arguably, they are.
Gibbs got Sutton to commit, and Sutton reached over the top of Ashton Gibbs and gets called for the foul.
Well, Ashton Gibbs is so crafty. He's not necessarily an explosive athlete, but because he's got that weapon, that jump shot, defenders will bite when you get him in the air and knows how to use his body.
Cheap back for Yakubu for Villanova. And Trey Woodall back at the scorer's table as well, set to check back in for Pittsburgh.
Ashton Gibbs' little brother Sterling will be a part of Big Monday tomorrow night. He's a freshman for Rick Barnes at the University of Texas.
Ashton Gibbs was the all-time leading scorer in Seton Hall prep history, playing for Bobby Farrell, until Sterling came along and broke his high school scoring record.
Well, Bob Farrell, you talk about a guy with great guards. How about the Knight brothers, Brevin and Brandon? The Gibbses.
And Brandon in the building.
Yep.
An assistant over on the staff of Jamie Dixon. Cheek, a little stutter step dribble, and a foul called in the lane before the shot. It looks like that will be against Dante Taylor. Under 12 minutes to go. And Villanova trying to hang in at the Petersen Events Center here in Pittsburgh. one of the great sports towns in America. In the foreground, you can see PNC Park behind the score there, home of the Pirates. And in the background, Heinz Field, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, of course, the Pitt Panthers as well. The Pro Football Hall of Fame welcoming a new class with a lot of Pittsburgh ties. Jack Butler, Steelers great from the 50s. Of course, Dermontti Dawson, as good as it got for the Steelers through the 90s. Chris Dolman played college football at Pitt. And Curtis Martin, fourth all-time leading rusher in NFL history, also a member of the Pitt Panthers in the early 90s. You know, it's a great sports town. It is a football town, though. And as the Jets radio play-by-play man, you can see the guys in the truck trying to put some Giants jerseys on just to torture me on what has been a horrible 2 weeks.
I'm a Jets fan, too.
I know you are. I know you can feel my pain.
I do.
But, you know, when you think about the spirit of this town and how it's wrapped up in its sports programs, and Pittsburgh basketball has become part of the fabric of the city as well.
You know, surprisingly, and it started with Ben Howland getting here, and then, of course, what Jamie Dixon has done. You're absolutely right. Great tradition through the years. There's been some good Pitt teams. Tim Gergerich took a team to the Elite Eight back in the 70s, Billy Knight's team. But there's been a renaissance of Pitt basketball in the last decade plus.
Yaru misses at one end. Offensive rebound around Yaru for Dante Taylor at the other. For three. Off the mark. A.J. Moore pulls it down for Pitt.
Well, with Ty Johnson at the point now, Wayne's playing off the ball, but you saw how much trouble Johnson had just getting by his man into the lane. Great guards have got to have the ability to make two defenders guard him, their man and the help.
Taylor allows the flyby and then misses the bunny. Villanova dodges a bullet. But they need to start firing some of their own, down by 14 again. Johnson sets up Waynes. Yaru kept it alive. Kingston blocked by Taylor. Ends up with Yaru. Traveling call. Dante Taylor's down. And he has struggled with a variety of ailments this season. He missed 2 games back in November. Migraine headaches due to a concussion. Had a back injury prior to the Louisville game, and he's been fighting off and on with that as well. And now we take a look at the collision that results in Taylor going down a moment ago.
Well, you love his effort. Zana and Taylor are giving you a lot of effort today. Now, they're not finishing at the rim. They're still allowing the ball to get to the lane. That's, you know, there's no Gary McGee there, but I think he just needs to catch his breath. Is that a good way to put it?
I would say that all of us of the male persuasion understand how he just lost his breath. Yes. That was an unfortunate elbow. Cheek in transition. It's a 3.
Very simple play by Malik Waynes. Ran the court, pulled up around the foul line area, and Cheek with a good rhythm jump shot.
In and out. Cheek the rebound. Villanova's not going away. A chance to get it back to double digits, or single digits, pardon me. And Waynes will go to the free throw line. The top free throw shooter in the Big East to try and do exactly that.
Boy, when Malik Waynes has the ball in transition, if you don't have your defense set with 3 or 4 bodies, see, a 2-on-3 for Malik Waynes is basically an attack situation for him, because even if you have more players back than you have Navy jerseys, he's so good at getting between 2 defenders. That's why I said earlier, great guards make at least 2 defenders guard them.
And he's a 90% free throw shooter as well. So when he gets to the free throw line, he makes them. It's an automatic 2 just about, as Gibbs comes back on for John Johnson. He gets to the line as much, if not more, than any player in the league. And when he gets there, he knocks them down.
That's why when you look at assist rate, assists per field goals, they're always overrated with Villanova because so much of their offense through the years has come because they've had attacking guards who get into the lane for themselves, not always just to pass off to their teammates. So when you talk about assist rate with Villanova, stat really doesn't carry much water.
That foul, by the way, was called on Robinson, his third. Here's Robinson left alone. Spins down the lane, comes up short. Wayne's the rebound. Cheek tries another three. Comes up short. And Gibbs is able to pull it down for Pitt. Gibbs shovels one underneath to Robinson for the reverse.
Once again, both teams heavy pick and roll today. And both teams' defensive guys, especially the bigs, don't do a great job of closing off the lane. That time, Gibbs able to get into the high paint area.
Cheek off a screen. Air ball. Saved by Pinkston to Waynes.
Cheek never had his feet squared to the basket.
That'll get James Bell up off the bench. Wayne's a little stutter step out of a double team. Finds Yaru. Knocked away by Woodall. Woodall. English off the backboard. Couldn't finish. And Yaru pulls it down. Sends a home run pass for Waynes. Makes a nice catch. And finishes with the left hand.
That looked like Heinz Ward from Roethlisberger. Yaru never knew where the ball was because he was just trying to get back to Waynes.
Johnson trying to poke it away.
Well, it's Super Bowl Sunday, so why not throw the deep ball? Watch Yaru. That ball's in the air a long time. Tail, who's that? Robinson doesn't see it. I think pass interference. Just take the 15-yard penalty. Don't get up a touchdown.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Volvo. Pay nothing to repair or maintain your new Volvo for the first 5 years. And K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K.
We'll look at the lifts here in Pittsburgh. And Pitt, at one point, had an 18-point lead over Villanova. But a 17-8 Nova run has helped them close within 9, although Pittsburgh about to shoot free throws as Woodall will go to the line to shoot 1 and 1 as the Wildcats are now over the limit. 17 fouls. Only 14 fouls here in the second half so far for Pittsburgh.
Crazy, isn't it? Game of runs, that 21-2 run by the Panthers late first half has really been the difference in this game, a 4-minute stretch.
14 now for Woodall. He's in double figures for the 8th time in the 13 games he's played. Assists and 4 rebounds to go along with 14 points for Woodall. Yaru fades away, comes up short. Zana the rebound, and Muth Yaru is now 1 for 11 from the field. Moore from the corner. Offensive rebound for Robinson. And he'll dribble it back out of harm's way. Fresh shot clock for Pitt.
Typical Pitt possession. Offensive rebound, kick it out. Now they'll run a set.
Gibbs picks up his dribble, and he was frustrated when he did. Shot clock down to 7. Woodall, double team, shot clock at 3. Knocked away at midcourt. Cheek has it, rolls over. It's a held ball, and the possession arrow will give it back to Pitt. What a bad break for Villanova. They were about to get a shot clock violation if Cheek didn't possess the ball.
Well, they were fortunate also that Cheek, that could have been a travel, because if you roll over, but the officials didn't call it, but you're absolutely right. Possession arrow.
If Cheek just knocks that ball into the backcourt, then it's a shot clock violation. Once he possessed it, though, it gives a fresh 35 to Pitt.
You'd have to have a really high IQ to think that out, you know.
Stripped away from Woodall, right to Robinson. He pulled the string. Going down hard, and it looks like a foul called on Yaru as Dante Taylor hit the deck. Tomorrow night, it's Big Monday, presented by Bud Light. First at 7 Eastern on the women's side. North Carolina meets Duke, number 24 at number 6. And then Oklahoma against Brittany Griner and top-ranked Baylor at 9 Eastern. That's on ESPN2, ESPN3, streaming live. Watch ESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. Tomorrow night, Big Monday in women's basketball as well, presented by Bud Light.
What a renaissance for Baylor athletics when you think about it. The Heisman Trophy winner, Baylor ranked basketball-wise in the top 10. Scott Drew's team, and of course, Kim Mulkey's got the Lady Bears #1. It'll be interesting to see how Kansas responds after the loss last night to Mizzou. They now have to travel on Wednesday to Waco to take on the Baylor Bears.
Well, if you had, say, Syracuse, and maybe a North Carolina team when they're at their best, as Yaru tries to operate inside, knocked away by Robinson, but a foul called. Could you conceivably put Kansas with Kentucky in that grouping of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country, or you still think that Baylor belongs up there?
Oh, I think Baylor does. I think Baylor's one of the best. I think the Big 12's got 3 of the best 8 teams in the country. The problem is they've all knocked each other off. Baylor's only 2 losses this whole season are to Missouri and to Kansas. Kansas loses at Missouri last night. The best thing about the Big 12 this year that other leagues don't have is double round robin, because you finally get to play everybody twice in your league, home and away.
Well, if you thought about it, you're 1 seeds now, just off the top of your head. Kentucky an automatic.
I think so.
Syracuse probably an automatic.
Yep. After that, Ohio State, I think, is close to an automatic, winning at Wisconsin.
Who would your 4th pick?
4th team, you know, it's a crapshoot. I'd say Missouri right now.
Okay, that's fair.
Missouri, you know, you're talking about Carolina right there, and potentially a Duke, Kansas, Baylor, maybe a little bit, you know, probably on the second line.
A lot to shake out, though, over the next 3 weeks.
Without a doubt. I saw Kentucky Tuesday night against Tennessee, and boy, they really impressed me. Anthony Davis, #1 pick in next June's draft. Everybody else is competing for #2 right now. But you don't have to be a genius to figure that out.
Woodall finds right underneath. Here comes Waits. Bell drives, and he'll go to the line, bumped by Cameron Wright. So Villanova at the free throw line, 5:47 to go. And if Bell can knock down his free throws, he's a 79% free throw shooter. Villanova, after being down by 18, would be back within 7.
We talked about James Bell and Javon Pinkston earlier. Two of these guys, I think, with promising futures for Jay Wright. We used to say, we always used to tell our teams, you're not only going to improve because you're going to get better, whether it's a James Bell or Javon Kingston, but you're going to get better because the guys that were kicking your butt when you were a freshman leave. They're off to the NBA. So there's no question these guys are going to get better. There's some talent there.
All of a sudden, Villanova's down 7, and it hasn't been any type of lightning, quick strike run that has really quieted the crowd. It's been kind of a slow crawl back into the game. But it's a 21-10 run over an extended period of time. Woodall, he gets hit, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Well, they've trapped the ball out of Woodall's hands, or at least they've tried to. They're trapping before there's a screen.
James Bell called for the foul, and that's his 5th. So Bell fouls out, and that's a versatile weapon with 5.5 minutes to go for Jay Wright to lose.
Take a look at this now. Watch it. They trap before there's even a screen. That's an early trap. But Woodall gets out. He gets to the rim. And I'm not sure. See, if you're in front of the man with 2 feet, you're allowed to move sideways or backwards. And sometimes in the Big East, I'll be honest this year, I'm not sure what a foul is and what isn't a foul, but changes from game to game. These guys do a good job overall.
So Bell fouls out.
What you love about Woodall is he initiated the contact. Took that ball right at Bell, whether he was moving or not.
Rue and Ty Johnson back on for Kennedy and Sutton. Only 3 points in the second half for Woodall. And Pitt, since taking the 18-point lead, they are 3 for their last 17 from the field. So they're going through enough of an offensive drought. Villanova getting some stops, but they've crawled back in the game. It is a single-digit lead with 5.5 minutes to go. But does Villanova have enough offense down the stretch to actually make it a game?
That's been the question. Remember, they've had leads in the last 5 losses and haven't been able to sustain any offense down the stretch.
Yaru turns and knocks down a jumper, and other than an offensive putback on a tip follow, that's been it. He's 2 for 12 from the field, but that's his first true field goal.
You know what? The young guy's been working, too. He has really been working in there. Ball has a drop for him, but they keep going to him.
He's got 13 rebounds.
Well, his effort's been great. There's that early trap again. They're not even going to let Pittsburgh get to the screen and roll, but you got to recover.
Woodall with a killer 3. And the lead's double digits again.
Hey, when you trap early, Pittsburgh's treating it like it's a prep. You got to get to your press offense. So now it's 4 versus 3 everywhere else on the floor. They've taken advantage of that. I love teams that react to changing defenses, and that's what Pittsburgh did on that play.
Cheek for 3. There's an answer, and Villanova's back within 7.
Let's see if Villanova continues to trap early, because Pittsburgh's done a really nice job of spreading out and moving the ball.
Woodall blocked by Yaru. Recovered in the corner by Waynes. Waynes tries a 3. Offensive rebound for Yaru. 14 rebounds. He'll try and take Taylor. Finds Cheek. He can't score. And Zana pulls down the rebound.
Well,
Jay Wright is looking for a foul.
No, I think Cheek did get fouled. That's what I was talking about. What's a foul 1 minute, not a foul the other minute? That's what always confuses coaches. I thought that was a great effort by Cheek to get to the rim and draw contact. And they always come at inopportune times as well when you're struggling. Trust me. If Jay Wright were 24 and 7, a play like that doesn't matter.
Shot clock at 7. Woodall blocked again, but another foul call. So Woodall will have to earn it at the line, and he will again struggle to get up. 7-point lead for Pitt. They led at 1 point by 18 here at home.
We're gonna media timeout.
Well, Cindy, Villanova has held Pittsburgh to 30% shooting in the second half. They've gotten themselves back in the game, down by 7. It's been a different performance by far for Pittsburgh after halftime. But Fran Fraschilla, the question, as always with Villanova, even if they get stops, can they generate enough offense to get over the top on the road against a team like Pitt and maybe completely erase what was once an 18-point deficit?
Remember, we said this 5 minutes into the game. They look like the same Villanova and Pittsburgh teams we've always seen in terms of the effort, the energy, the toughness. The question is with both teams is, can they make enough shots? And that's been a struggle for Villanova today, and recently struggle for Pittsburgh here in the last few minutes.
And with Woodall back at the free throw line.
Now we don't want to anoint Pitt if they win as, you know, a team that's going to be in the NCAA tournament, because they're only going to be 4-7. But you do like the fact that they're starting to look like the team that they thought they were back in November and early December.
And Woodall has the last 9 points for Pittsburgh. Johnson pulls up, too strong. Pinkston kept it alive but lost it out of bounds. A funny hop off the side of the rim, and Pinkston mistimed his jump.
Ty Johnson, one of those recruits we talked about that came in with a lot of accolades. Plainfield, New Jersey kid. He finished up at Montrose Christian, but he broke his foot in June, and he essentially missed 5 months of practice and conditioning.
Patterson fouled, trips over the top of Pinkston. And Jay Wright wants a timeout. That's 10 team fouls against Villanova. So it's the automatic double bonus for Lamar Patterson. 30-second timeout called by Jay Wright. And tomorrow night on Big Monday, presented by Bud Light, we'll head to the Big East first as UConn takes on a red-hot group from Louisville. The 25th ranked Cardinals have won 4 in a row. They'll take on the Huskies, who just broke a losing streak by beating Seton Hall at the prelude to the Big 12 matchup between Texas and Texas A&M. Both games available also at ESPN3, streaming live, watchespn.com, and the Watch ESPN app. Louisville's had a bit of a roller coaster this season. They're now back above 500 and deserving of a top 25 ranking. You'd think maybe Notre Dame is as well, and I'm telling you, Fran, Pittsburgh is going to make a run.
Well, the schedule is favorable, obviously. If they win 6 of 8, they end up 9-9 going into the Big East tournament. The two things in their favor. Number one, the basketball committee will look at the fact that they're a much better team with Trey Woodall. The other thing, quite frankly, 68 teams, we're still going to be looking for some mediocre teams to put in the tournament. We'll argue about who didn't get in, but there will be some mediocre teams that make the field of 68. That's the way it is.
Well, 6-2 down the stretch would get to Pitt, or get Pitt back to 500 in the Big East regular season. Here's what they have remaining. Some tough games, but you'd have to say all winnable. I mean, they're not going to Syracuse. They're not going to Marquette. They're not going to some of the top teams in the Big East. Most of the teams that they're playing are somewhere around the 500 mark.
Well, I would agree with you.
Cheek for 3. That misses everything.
I also know that in the Big East, there's no easy game. And I speak from experience. But yeah, and that's why as a coach, you never look at your throw.
Woodall just airmails Gibbs.
I think he was just throwing. I think he was thinking of the Super Bowl later. Was just throwing that ball away. Didn't want to throw the interception. Let's see if they can get Waynes going.
Pinkston spins baseline, fouled by Zana. That'll put Pinkston at the free throw line to shoot 1-1.
You can see, Bob, Villanova has tried to go inside all night long with mixed results. But they obviously feel if there's a soft spot, it's Pittsburgh's big guys. Young man went to Bishop Loughlin High School, in Brooklyn, which not only produced former Villanova star Curtis Sumter, but also the Golden State Warriors' new head coach, Mark Jackson, former St. John's great. You and I will have St. John's at Georgetown next Sunday afternoon. Oh, boy.
Another unforced error. Sutton somehow does the ballet routine along the end line and stays in bounds. Waynes. Eventually they set Cheek up. Sutton bobbles it, finds it again, and sticks it up and in. Timeout called by Jay Wright. The lead is down to 6. Villanova won't go away.
What a great catch by Mo Sutton. That ball was thrown down by his knees. Was able to recover and finish. Cheek did a nice job of getting into the paint. Take a look at the drive by Cheek. Bobbles that ball, finishes inside. Nice effort by the big guy from Largo, Maryland. Now, Villanova's not a pressing team. But here's a situation where you're still in what I call a possession game. You don't necessarily have to play the comeback game right now where you're pressing and fouling. You can go at least another possession or two and try to get stops and scores.
No fouls to give for either team. Villanova has the arrow. Both teams with a couple of timeouts. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla at the Petersen Events Center here at Pittsburgh, where Pitt, against Big East competition all time in this building, 67-14. That's in conference. So they have been nearly impossible to beat at home by conference competition. Their last home game, they beat Georgetown, ranked 10th all-time in this building. They are 12-0 against the top 10, but having a tough time putting away Villanova. And Villanova almost creates another turnover as Woodall will back it out.
Boy, that was close. Villanova just not alert, did everything they needed to do. This is the last possession, if I'm Villanova, that I'm going to play straight up if I trail by 6. But I would not foul now with the clock down.
Shot clock at 8. Gibbs crosses over. Shot clock at 3. Tied up. Loose ball. Good if it goes. Comes up short. It grazed the front of the rim. Jamie Dixon saying that the shot clock violation that Jim Burr called shouldn't have been called because the shot did beat the 35-second timer, and it looked like it grazed the front of the rim.
It did.
Before Sutton pulled it down.
It did. The ball was in the air. Take a look. It's certainly a shot. It's not the kind of shot he practices every day. The ball did hit the front of the rim. Now, this could be, if it's an inadvertent whistle, it's likely to be a jump ball. And the arrow points towards, I think that's what it was. An inadvertent whistle will mean that it's a jump ball, alternating possession. And that's why, take a look now. Roger Ayers went to Jim Burr and said, see, there's the shot, hits the rim. Jim Burr called quickly the violation. It's an inadvertent whistle, change of possession.
Yarou off the window. It's a 4-point game with 1 minute to go. And then a quick foul called on Waynes.
That is what you don't want to do in that situation if you're Villanova. And especially fouling Ashton Gibbs. Now, the big fella caught it smoothly. Good left hook. But then Malik Waynes fouls for no reason, in my opinion.
And fouls an 83% free throw shooter with Pitt in the double bonus. So it's 2 free throws for Gibbs after Villanova had cut the lead down to 4, the closest they had been since it was 25-21 back in the first half.
If I'm Villanova right here, Bob, I take the ball, I go right to the basket. If I shoot a 3, it's got to be off an inside-out drive and kick, but I go to the rim and get the sure 2.
Well, Villanova also is the second worst three-point shooting team as a group in the Big East. Taylor out. Zana back in. And 5 for 16 actually isn't a bad percentage for Villanova this year, kind of right on their number. Waynes tries a 3. Got it! It's a 1-possession game with 57 seconds to go.
Jay Wright spent all week. They had a week off. They said they went to minicamp. One of the things they concentrated on, they brought officials in, and they worked on late game situations. There's a good rhythm shot by Waynes. You know he's made this shot all season, off the catch. And now we'll see if those late game situations that they've worked on pay off.
Even though you were saying that you wouldn't necessarily pull the quick trigger on a three, are you surprised that Ashton Gibbs was not a little more respectful of Waynes maybe coming down to do exactly that?
Well, what I'm talking about, I wouldn't want to throw it to somebody who's not used to shooting a three and jacking one. That was a rhythm three by their leading scorer, who, by the way, is averaging 25 over the last 5. To me, right in their wheelhouse.
And my question, I guess, is it was a rhythm three that Gibbs kind of opened the door for.
He did, because he turned his head thinking he was going to get screened. Now, if you're Villanova, pressure without fouling. You are in a one-possession game right now.
And not even much pressure. They're going to back up and play straight-up defense.
Well, they will, and Pittsburgh will try to use 35.
Petersen instead will drive it. Score! Offensive foul! It's going to go over to Villanova.
They got greedy because Villanova spread the floor trying to trap. Take a look.
What a job by Pinkston to get set.
Yep.
And that fouls out Lamar Petersen. Villanova was down by 18. They have cut it all the way down to 3, and they've got the basketball in what could conceivably still be a 3-possession game for both teams.
Well, and the crazy thing is, as well as Pitt's played today, they've turned the ball over 4 times in the last 5 trips down the floor. So they haven't played with the kind of moxie Jamie Dixon's looking for.
And Jay Wright used every possible moment of that timeout. That's forced as Lamar Petersen fouls out.
Now, same situation. If I'm Waynes, go to the basket. If they back off and shoot the 3, fine, but they're going to let you get to the rim.
They give Waynes an opening. He tries again. That one's off the mark. Woodall's got it, and now Villanova has to foul. Pinkston immediately grabs Trey Woodall.
You know, that's not what I'm crazy about, because I know you're going to get almost a sure 2. That time, there was a little bit more concern for Waynes on the part of Pittsburgh, so he had a peekaboo behind the screen. It wasn't as much rhythm. You know, he's such a good player. He's made it all year. For me, go to the rim. You're going to get 2 and get fouled.
Now a little breathing room for Pitt, as it's a 2-possession game. Woodall perfect at the line today. That foul on Pinkston, his 4th. And that is a member's bounce for Trey Woodall. 5-point game, 34.7 seconds to go. Ty Johnson looking for shooters to try and get the ball to. Here's Cheek. Dumps it underneath to Pinkston. Tough catch. Draws the foul. Zana came from behind to block the shot, but it looks like they'll call J.J. Moore for the push. That'll put Pinkston at the line.
Well, Cheek got caught. In fact, he didn't get caught in the air. He drove middle with the intention maybe of drawing that second defender, and it's exactly what he did. Good heads-up play by Dominic Cheek.
Back in.
Now, if obviously Pinkston makes his second one, you'll press, trap, steal, foul. TSF, trap, steal, foul.
Pinkston's got them both. 1-possession game. And another ball handler back in the game for Pitt. Zana out. John Johnson back in. Also in the game to possibly give a foul is Yakubu for Villanova, as Waynes goes to the bench.
Yakubu's got a face guard Gibbs. He can't give Gibbs a running start.
The home run ball instead for Woodall. And he gets the easy 2. And a foul. Ty Johnson called for the foul. It's a chance for a 3-point play for Woodall. And Ty Johnson is fouled out. The home run mistake.
Ty Johnson got caught watching the paint dry. Take a look. He never watched the basketball, was face guarding Woodall, and so Robinson just threw it down the floor because Johnson wasn't looking. A freshman mistake. That was just a freshman mistake, Bob. Johnson's got to see ball and his man at the same time. What a heads-up play by Nash Robinson. And Jay Wright is explaining it to him. You know, they practice late game situations this week, but unless you do it in games, he won't make that mistake the next 3.5 years, I guarantee you.
And now Jimmy Burr, who called the foul on Ty Johnson, goes over to the monitor. And John Gaffney, one of the member of the officiating crew, comes over and tells us what they're looking for.
They just want to make sure it wasn't a flagrant foul at the end, and I don't think it is, but you go to the monitor and make sure that Johnson didn't shove him into the basket support there. Johnson just got caught first on the pass over the top, and then tried to block the shot, but he was way too late. Here's what the officials are looking at. And he's just trying to get out of the way. That'll be easy. See Johnson, he thinks he's going to block it, and then he just pulls the arm back, and see the arms try to get away from Woodall. Guarantee you, Bob, Ty Johnson will play 3.5 more years at Villanova. He'll never make that mistake again. But unless you do it in a game, you just don't understand the value of being heads up in late game situations. Wow, I'm surprised.
And they do call it a flagrant one after all.
I'm surprised.
So it's 2 shots for Woodall plus the ball. 20 seconds to go in what's already a 2-possession game. And this will just about put a dagger into any hopes that Villanova will have, as Woodall is already up to his career high at 26 and a chance to add to it. It's a heck of a comeback attempt by Villanova to be down by 18 as a 3-7 team in the Big East on the road. They have struggled all year without really notable wins, beaten by St. Joe's, Temple, Marquette, South Florida, West Virginia, Louisville, all by double digits. And to be down by 18 in the second half at Pitt and get it all the way down to a 1-possession game a couple of times. But they run out of gas here at the end. And cheek fouls Gibbs.
And the flip side of that is the last 5 losses they've actually had leads in. And so there's progress here. But you know, it's like trying to walk up a down escalator. You're making progress, but you're still in the same place you were. You're expending a lot of energy. They're getting better, but it's not showing on the court.
And Pitt has made their free throws. Pitt is now 19 of 21 at the line in the second half. So Pittsburgh will survive a scare from Villanova, it looks like, at home. Under 19 seconds to go, and the lead has jumped back up to 9. And now Wayne's going to have to think about a quick trigger 3. And there it is. Rebounds to John Johnson, shovels it off to Woodall, and another foul given by Muth Yaru in the corner. So So Woodall will have an opportunity to add to his career high, and Pittsburgh will get their 4th consecutive conference win after starting off 0-7 in the Big East. They'll be up to 4-7. We showed you their upcoming schedule before. They've got games that certainly you would think they would be very competitive in, if not win. And they could be a team, Fran Fraschilla, that down the stretch could pull a real rags to riches turnaround.
Well, you see Pittsburgh on your schedule. If you watched about 3 weeks ago, you go, hey, we got Pittsburgh coming up. That may be a win. Well, now it's back to being Pittsburgh. It's like, oh, my gosh. The tough defense, the grinded-out mentality, the guard play, and the residue of winning, because Jamie Dixon told us they kept practicing hard. They didn't have a win for 34 days. They kept practicing the way he wanted them to practice.
Do it. Again, we also see the effect that Trey Woodall returning for Pitt has on the end result. He scores 17 of Pittsburgh's final 22, and the Panthers winning 4 in a row in the conference to get to 4-7, and it all seems to be traced to the return of Trey Woodall from the groin abdominal strain that he suffered before coming back to face Louisville 5 games ago. Once again, the final. Pitt over Villanova, 79-70. The Panthers survive a scare. Coming up next, Chris Paul's Celebrity Bowling Invitational presented by Sheetz. You can catch the end of Miami Duke as well on ESPNU. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So long for Pittsburgh.